diseases that afflict Americans, including heart attacks, strokes, dementia, and even cancers, don't have to happen.
Long before I was ever a doctor, I was a patient.
It doesn't make any sense to spend $10,000 on stem cells or ozone or vitamin C if you are still eating Pop-Tarts and Cheetos and goldfish.
They want people to believe that it's your fault. You're sick because your body's attacking itself. It has to stay like that forever and never be challenged.
I don't have to be sick. I can take my power back. I can follow these steps and I can do something.
We're looking to fire that amygdala to bring up these negative thoughts in order to send this calming signal and let it go.
It's never been credited by science that serotonin imbalance is the cause of depression.
Turns out that this thing is connected to the rest of us, right? And the rest of us actually has a profound influence on how this thing functions, way more than we realize.
Our consciousness is from God himself, and that consciousness is eternal.
I realized that every day I could choose gratitude.
I believe that God has sent me here to bring a freedom to women. God wants us to share not just the highlights of our life, but also the lowlights, because we heal from each other's stories. None of this would be possible without my dear friend, Dr. Kimberly Spair. God interwove our stories to be able to share this with you guys.
You're opening yourself up to that piece of holding your own power, which opens you up to hope. And hope leads to faith, and faith in God leads to miracles.
Have you heard of the medical medium?
No.
If you can tell me anything about my psoriasis and how to fix it, I'm down to see what happens.
Hey,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm Kim.
Hey, I'm the medical medium, been doing this forever. I mean, since I was a kid. But yeah, I'll take a look at you. I'll have you stand up for a minute. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
I wore a skirt so you could see all my psoriasis.
Yeah.
That's my big spot. And now it's like that size, and now I'm just getting them all over.
Yeah.
And now on my face. So when it gets to my face, there's a problem.
We have to get rid of that, there's no question. I'm just gonna take a look straight here. Just going through every organ, looking for the problem. With you, it's definitely the liver. You have really high deposits of copper. I know it probably sounds so far-fetched, right?
No, I believe in it.
So what's happening is you've got these deposits of copper inside the liver. That's a dermatoxin, so that's a poison that's floating to the skin. So celery juice is gonna neutralize that copper. Your psoriasis will start going away, and that's why I want you on it.
Every time I see you, I feel like a gazillion more people are talking about celery juice.
Yeah.
You have started this total phenomenon. Congrats.
You know, it's the single most powerful healing remedy there is, and that's why.
Noah Cyrus.
What's good it?
And
How
the
you
amazing New York #1 bestseller, Anthony William, AKA Medical Medium.
It's an honor, man. We're with Miranda Kerr.
Hi
Here
guys,
she is.
how are you? Thanks for joining us today.
If I could have, everyone could get off these foods.
Yeah.
What would those foods be?
Okay, the wild blueberry has the power to help somebody rise out of the ashes. I'll tell you why. Like
Cool.
a phoenix, because it does that itself too, right? Scott Bakula, Chelsea Field, dear friends of mine.
Anthony basically saved my life.
Autoimmune is a tricky thing because it's not what it seems to be. When you first hear it, you're like, what is this? Autoimmune, you're sick, you have some symptoms, you get maybe some tingles and numbness, maybe you get fatigue, maybe you got a rash, maybe you're getting migraines and body pain. You get a blood test and something shows up on your blood work, like maybe they spot some inflammation through an ANA test or C-reactive protein test or any other way, and you end up getting this diagnosis. Or maybe you're somebody with Hashimoto's thyroiditis and you got this, all of a sudden you're dealing with this thyroid problem. You get this diagnosis of whatever it is, the label, but then you get told it's autoimmune. You find out that your body's own immune system is turning on its glands and organs. You know, if you look at Hashimoto's thyroiditis, the gland swells up, something's wrong, you're getting sick, and then you're told that your own immune system has decided somehow, some way, to turn against your own gland and go at it and start to break it down, injure it, and destroy it. When you hear this, it's a shocker when you learn about it. And I guess when you're older, the shock is there. But when you're 18 years old, when you're 17 years old, You know, I've talked to moms and they're bringing their 14, 15-year-old daughter or son to the doctor, and the doctor's about to break the news about a diagnosis, and all of a sudden it's autoimmune. And they're like, my body's attacking itself? My immune system is attacking itself, and there's no cure, and there's no way, nothing can change this?
And then you think you're going to be sick for the rest of your life. That was me with the Hashimoto's thyroiditis, the Lyme. And I went from doctor to doctor to doctor to specialist. And you're going to take this medication for the rest of your life. You're never going to get better. You're always going to have this condition. And you may not have another child because, you know, we'll just see how this goes. We'll see how your immune system does. So
that's the best they can do. And here's the sad part. The sad part is it's not your body attacking itself. The truth that people don't know, the truth that millions of professionals don't know, millions of doctors don't know, is that back in 1950, when people got sick for the first time in our history, and it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. People must have been sick before 1950, not in the way that it happened like this. Late 1940s, millions of women were filing in their doctor's offices because they were sick with new symptoms that no one ever saw before. It was the fatigue syndrome. And it wasn't the fatigue where you work out, you exercise, or you have a day in the sun or a day at the beach and you've been in the sun for 4 hours, and then or you took a big long hike and then you're tired for a day or two. And it's not that kind of fatigue. You're living with it. So this was the first time in our history that women were living like this or experiencing this. And along with it, they had the tingles and numbness and the aches and pains and the depression and anxiety. It escalated and rose to a degree that the industry never, ever saw before. It didn't exist before that. They're like, what do? We have a few different options. We can say it's hormones, and they did. That's when the whole hormone movement just exploded because they said it's hormones that are causing this. And the other one was it's all in your head. So women were told they were crazy, and they still get told that now.
Yeah.
That hasn't gone away. Still a little bit, I call it like the old-timer doctors, and I love doctors. We need doctors. They're amazing. There's some incredible doctors out there. Yeah. But there's still some old-timers left that still think women might be just kind of making it up or bored, or if the blood work looks fine and there's nothing visual seen on a scan, your MRIs look good, your CAT scans look good, your ultrasounds look good, and you're still dealing with these strange symptoms.
And as soon as you experience anxiety, then they're definitely saying it's all in your head. And the anxiety comes from the diagnosis of someone telling you, you're going to be sick for the rest of your life. Well, of course I'm anxious now. Why wouldn't I be anxious? Like, come on. Yeah, when you get told that your body's destroying itself, the anxiety can kick in. So women were told it was all in their head around the early 1950s. They were told it was their hormones as well. Those are the two options. And then the third one came about. It was the discovery where they found an antibody in blood work. But they didn't know what this did. They didn't know what it was about. And science and research thought that that antibody was hurting the person without any evidence, without any proof, without any understanding, without any study that was showing it happen. It was just a decision made at a round table. That's all it was. At a conference table. It was the decision made where this must mean the body is attacking itself. It never changed. It stayed like that for 70 years. So 7 years later, after the first decade going by, women getting multiple sclerosis, women getting, bedridden with fatigue, thyroid disease, and neurological symptoms, aches and pains, burning skin, pain in the jaw, pain in the neck, unexplained pain everywhere, and restless leg syndrome and severe migraines. Decade after decade goes by, and something never changes, and it's the autoimmune theory. That stays the same. So here we are. Look how far we are. The field has expanded like never before. Science and research is God. Never question science and research because they know everything until they don't. So what you have to realize is that you get your autoimmune diagnosis, like, okay, that means science and research must be at the top of their game. They know what's wrong with me. They got answers. That was from 1950, 70 years ago. It was just a theory. And you might say, hey, I got an alternative doctor, and I'm gluten-free, and I got some bloating, and my bloating's getting a little better because I got off of processed foods, and I'm taking
his or her supplements, and my microflora is getting better. I'm exercising a little bit more, and my acne's not as bad. I think because I'm not eating gluten, that's what I'm told. And in the end, if you get sicker than that, you go to that same doctor that was your hero originally, 2 years before, and you say, what is wrong with me? And they're running tests now. They're looking for Lyme, and they don't know what's going on, and they throw their hands in the air and say, you got autoimmune.
And then you feel like it's your fault and you feel powerless. You lost all your power. You handed it away and it's all your fault and you're going to be sick for the rest of your life. And what do you do when you're 28, like I was when it happened?
Yeah.
And
So
then you're stuck.
yours hit you when you were 28.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And so the autoimmune theory is that it has holes in it.
Yeah.
And it never changed. And we're at a point in our history where if it keeps on going like this, then it's obviously showcasing something's wrong, and the system is set in place for a reason like that. Science and research, wants it to be this way. They want people to believe that it's your fault, your body's faulty, you're sick because your body's attacking itself, and this was a decision they made in 1950, grandfathered in. You're not allowed to touch it, you're not allowed to change it, you're not allowed to alter it. It has to stay like that forever and never be challenged ever. And you have to think about that for a minute. Like, why is that? It wasn't proven, but yet it's not being challenged and it's not being changed. And there's a reason for that, because the industries don't want people to know what's really going on, because it'll have a track record that identifies something going in the past, and it's viruses. And that's our big issue today. That's why we get the autoimmune diagnosis. It's because of viruses. And Lyme disease used to be bacterial until millions and millions of medical medium books got around the world exposing the truth about Lyme disease. And now
even the Lyme doctors are saying that it's not bacterial, which is
they're not.
They have a piece of it, right?
And so what's going on now is science and research is catching wind of it all, and now they knocked Lyme disease quietly out of bacterial, and they've thrown it in autoimmune. So Lyme disease is now autoimmune, which means cause unknown. It's your body destroying itself.
And how does this tie together with genes? People are passing these things down from generation to generation. They think that they have faulty genes, but how does that play in with the viruses?
Our genes have been working pretty darn good for thousands of years. And then out of nowhere, in the last 25 years, 20 years, all of our genes went bad. The explosion of the viruses, talking about the epidemic of Epstein-Barr, talking about that plague, shingles and HHV6 and cytomegalovirus and simplexes, that's the real plague that has everybody down. It has nothing to do with genes. Our genes didn't go bad all at one shot in the last 20 years. Just in the last 10 years, chronic illness has exploded. Everybody is going to have a symptom if they don't already have one. And if they're a lucky person that doesn't have any kind of symptom right now, where they don't have bloating, they don't have acne, they don't have, an ache or a pain, or they don't have a UTI, or they don't have anything, and there's somebody that has nothing going on right now, I want that person to enjoy it while it lasts, because we're talking about 99.9% of everybody is going to have a symptom, and eventually 100% of everybody. Viruses do get passed down from generation to generation too. So not only do we pick them up everywhere, we pick them up in public bathrooms, we pick them up when we're eating out, we pick viruses up all the time. It's easy to pick up. Viruses are just something that it's a part of where we are right now. It's a part of where we are on planet Earth. You end up sharing, but people share strep back and forth. That's what a UTI is.
Yes.
Infections, bladder infections, kidney infections, UTIs, that's all streptococcus. And it's passed around. It's just normal. That's what strep throat is and everything else. And we pass around that bacteria. We pass around viruses such as Epstein-Barr really easily. People get the eczema, they get the psoriasis, they get the fibromyalgia, they get the multiple sclerosis, they get the lupus, they get the rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's thyroiditis. The list goes on and on and on.
Nobody wants to hear that they have a bug, but the empowering thing is my body's not attacking itself. I remember reading that in your first book, and it literally gave me my life back. It wasn't a life sentence anymore. Like, yes, I have work to do, but I can take my power back. I can follow these steps and I can do something. I don't have to be sick. I don't have to have thyroid disease just because my grandmother did, my mother did. Now I'm coming down with symptoms. I don't want to pass that to my daughter. I can stop it. I can do something. I can live a different way. And that's where this is so exciting.
When you get sick enough, I mean, you were sick.
Very sick.
And you were like, it was impeding your life, right?
Yes.
It was in the way.
It was in the way. I was barely making it.
Were you able to go on a 5-mile run easy?
No, I was a runner. I was a marathon runner. And when I got sick, I was in my bed and all I wanted was to sit outside, let alone go on a run or a walk. And I had a newborn son. So that's the crazy part yeah.
When you're able to still run 5 miles every morning, you're able still to exercise, work all day, but you only have a little bit of bloating or some kind of discomfort, or once in a while you get, a migraine or you get a little acne, you don't want to know you have a bug. Right. There's no such thing. I don't have viruses. Don't tell me I have a virus. But when you land in bed and you have that fatigue and it's worse than ever before, or it gets really bad, then that knowing of, hey, I got a bug can save your life.
Yes.
That can save your life. It's either that or you just go on the doctor shopping tour and specialist after specialist, neurologist after neurologist, and you can stay on that tour for a long time. It could end you up with a Lyme disease diagnosis or something, could end you up with something, but still, until you really know what bug it is, until you know what really is the very thing that's making us sick and taking us down. And then the other thing that it's not genes, no, it's these bugs. And it's not genes, it's toxic heavy metals. It's another thing.
Yes.
And what everybody's suffering and struggling with as they're living their lives is they got the toxic heavy metals like mercury, aluminum, and copper. And then they have the bugs like Epstein-Barr, shingles, cytomegalovirus, simplexes. And somebody like, oh, I have my fever blister, that's just a fever blister. No, that's simplex one.
Right.
It's a virus. It lives in you. It stays in you. And then it causes other trouble. Then when you're 40 years old, you get the worst trigeminal neuralgia. And all of a sudden your jaw's hurting and you can't chew. And you got burning gums. It's because no one tells anyone, no one in the industry tells anyone what's really going on so we can work on fixing it. When you know what it is, you can start knocking down that simplex one. You can start knocking it down. You can get rid of your fatigue, knock down that Epstein-Barr virus. You can change your life. You can turn it around. You can rise out of the ashes when you know what to do, when you have the tools. And the medical medium information was always about tools. Someone said to me, oh, he's just fruits and vegetables. That's funny because it's not fruits and vegetables.
Right.
It's leafy greens, it's wild foods, and it's herbs. And it's knowing how to use fruit. The information has saved countless lives already when people realize they can customize and learn the protocols because there's so many different ones, and it's about knowing what minerals to use. It's about knowing what vitamins to use. It's about knowing what foods to eat. 35 years of work of getting people off of gluten is great because it got out there. It's out there.
Yes.
So everybody knows gluten, no gluten, no gluten. Right? I mean, and that's incredible. But here's the deal. Why do you need to take gluten out is the key. Because it's feeding something. Bugs like to eat, and gluten will feed it. And that's the medical medium information. It's like bugs eat. And once you get empowered to know they eat, you can starve them without starving yourself. Being plant-based is not enough. Being vegan is not enough. Being animal protein, really clean animal protein, being paleo is not enough. All those aren't enough. That's why plant-based people and vegans get sick, and now they're eating eggs and salmon again. They run to the other side. And then the paleo and high protein and keto, they get sick and they run to the other side. It's about knowing what's wrong, what bugs someone has, how to get rid of the bugs, and then use the foods as tools. Autoimmune, just wrapping it up as autoimmune and seeing people suffer like this. And see young people on Mattress Island where they spend most of their life on a mattress or on the couch. Were you in bed a lot?
I was in bed. It was right after I had my son. It was when the fatigue hit. Before that, I knew I had issues, but I was still getting by. I was okay. But after I had him is when everything hit the fan, and that's when the fatigue, the tingles, the numbness, I was diagnosed neurological Lyme. I was terrified. My TSH was 93, and thank God that's when I found you, because you told me this isn't scary. You'll be okay. I implemented the information, but I implemented it all at one time like a steamroller because I had no choice. And I think that's the difference too. Some people take a piece here, a piece there, a piece there, and maybe they're not getting totally better or better as fast as they want to, but it's really the people that are really, really sick. Those are the people that are diving in because they have no choice.
Yeah. What's funny is that medical medium information, like just say one tool like celery juice.
Yeah.
People can use that to keep them stable while they're using other things that aren't good for them. So they can gather other they could be eating other things that they could be gobbling down the nutritional yeast. They could be downing the apple cider vinegar, which is terrible for people, and people don't know that. Right. They can be doing that, but they can do the collagen powder, which is terrible for people. They don't know that. They can do all that, and then at the same time drink their celery juice and don't realize the celery juice is keeping them from getting sicker with everything else they're doing. I mean, I know people that are eating fast food and drinking their celery juice, and it's keeping
that's great.
It's keeping their bugs
doing something, right?
It's keeping their bugs down. It's keeping their bugs down.
So talk a little bit about why women struggle. Men get sick too, but women really, we see women, dealing with the autoimmune diagnosis, the Lyme diagnosis, and really struggling.
Because women's immune systems have to take care of the reproductive system. So men's immune system don't take care of the reproductive system. So a man can have his immune system watch over every part of his body every day, 30 days, 50 days, 80 days later, 100 days later, 2 years later, just every day. Of course, a man can run their immune system down and burn it to the ground. Absolutely, okay? But still, he's running 100% of his immune system down to the ground. Women, when they have their cycle or ovulation or pregnancy, their immune system goes to the reproductive system. So 80% of a woman's immune system goes to the reproductive system during a cycle. And so if they have something going on, like if they're prone to getting UTIs, if they're prone to getting bladder infections, kidney infections, sore throats, if they're prone to getting migraines, acne, brain fog, anything like that, it's going to hit during the cycle. Somewhere around that cycle, it's going to hit. Because only 20% of her immune system is left to cover everything else. To cover the thyroid, to cover the brain, to cover anything. So there's only 20% left. And then ovulation, it's 40% of the woman's immune system going to the reproductive system during ovulation.
Wow.
And only 60% is doing a check out on everything, like checking the brain out, checking the lungs out, checking going through everything, checking the liver out. And then pregnancy, it's 50%. So 9 months, out of that pregnancy time, 50% of her immune system is watching over the baby. This is why women, they get sick after pregnancies.
I was going to say, yeah. So this is why women deal with all of these issues, autoimmune issues after pregnancy, postpartum depression, all of these things that women struggle with is because of the immune system is dropping. Yep.
All of a sudden, boom, there's a thyroid problem. All of a sudden, hypothyroidism out of nowhere.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's happening to millions of women, and science research doesn't know, because science and research, from what I've seen, just doesn't care about women's health. And you can see the signs. It's out there. One is no one's coming clean about autoimmune. They're not coming clean about that. They just won't touch it. It's grandfathered in, and they made a decision for everybody without any science behind it. And so now we're in this position we are now, where women just get sick. There's no answers. And the best we can do in alternative medicine is tell them that their gut is off.
Yeah.
Is to tell them that their gut flora is off. Is tell them that that's the best they could do, or still hormones. Because you'll get that from alternative medicine now. And I'm not trying to pick on alternative medicine. It's a copycat. It's a copycat of conventional, but it's got some flash and bells and whistles now. But it's a copycat of conventional. It's still hormones. Back to that.
Yes.
Oh, acne? Oh, it's hormones. No.
Yeah, and when you're postpartum and you get sick, they try to tell you stop nursing because your hormones are all over the place. It's making your thyroid crazy. So if you stop nursing your baby, then we'll see what happens. So it's really a mess. It's a mess.
It is.
Yeah.
But the hidden epidemic, which is Epstein-Barr, leading the way. There's over 60 varieties of Epstein-Barr mutations, and it's leading the way in chronic illness, and no one's aware of it. But a lot of changes has happened with the medical media and books and information getting out there all these years. A lot of changes has occurred because of it. And one is now doctors are testing for Epstein-Barr when you have neurological Lyme. Oh, why is that?
Yep.
Why are they now testing for Epstein-Barr so I have Lyme disease and I have Epstein-Barr. You hear people saying that now. I have Lyme disease. No, you have Epstein-Barr. That is your Lyme disease.
Yes.
And that's what it is. Just know that when you get a diagnosis or you start getting sick, don't think that you manifested it. Don't let anyone tell you it's because you're not thinking positive enough or you created it in some way. There's people who never had to do any of that, and they're 85 years old and never had an ache and pain in their life. It's not because you're creating it with your thoughts.